Stem cells. Some would call them a miracle cure. Others would call them immoral and destructive. These tiny cells could usher in a new age of medicine where regenerating sick or damaged body parts are the most widely used treatment for everything ranging from paralysis to blindness to cancer. But what are stem cells? Where are they found and how are they harvested? These questions will all be explored and answered in full in my forthcoming video. Though perhaps more important are the moral questions that lie behind stem cell research. I hope to give you a full 360-degree view of everything to do with stem cell research in this video.
We have probably all heard of them.
Stem cells.
Stem cells.
Stem cells.
Stem cells.
Embryonic stem cell research.
But what exactly are stem cells? Stem cells are unspecialized cells that can self-replicate as well as become specialized cells through differentiation. There are two main types of stem cells, embryonic and adult or somatic stem cells. The main differences between these two cells are their ability to differentiate into different types of specialized cells. There are two main subcategories of adult stem cells: pluripotent stem cells, which can differentiate into any other type of cell, and multipotent stem cells, which are more limited in the kinds of cells that they can differentiate into. It is important to note that adult pluripotent stem cells are very difficult to locate and harvest, whereas embryonic stem cells are all pluripotent. Induced pluripotent stem cells are a technological breakthrough in stem cell research. Scientists are able to tinker with the genetics of adult stem cells so that they act as though they are embryonic stem cells. This technology is truly a great advance. However, they still need to be experimented on more to see how they affect people. These aren't replacements for embryonic stem cells yet, but they are definitely promising.
Using just 4 genes, Yamanaka had changed mature mouse cells into pluripotent stem cells, cells that could then be used to make almost any cell in the body. Yamanaka named his reprogrammed cells induced pluripotent stem cells.
The way that adult and embryonic stem cells are harvested are vastly different from each other. Embryonic stem cells are taken from a 4 to 5 day embryo in the blastocyst, whereas adult stem cells are harvested from different parts of the body, mainly the bone marrow.
Embryonic stem cells are derived from embryos created through in vitro fertilization. Once the egg is fertilized, it divides into a ball of cells. After 4 to 5 days, scientists remove the cells from the inner cell mass region. They are then transferred to a laboratory dish where they continue to grow and divide. By adding different growth factors, it's possible to change these embryonic stem cells into different cell types, such as nerve, bone, muscle, and pancreatic.
Embryonic stem cells are derived from excess embryos that are left over from assisted fertility treatments, like IVF. The embryos that would otherwise be destined for medical waste are harnessed to study human disease and development in the laboratory.
Warning! Graphic medical content ahead. The squeamish members of the audience are advised to either leave the room or avert their eyes from the screen.
Today we're targeting the iliac crest. The ilium is the large hip bone where most of the bone marrow, a great portion of the bone marrow resides. It's the most accessible, and our patient has been made very comfortable with numbing agents. I'm now going to numb further the site from where we're gathering the marrow. It's a little device to locate the bone marrow. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good, good. You feel a little pressure?
Yep.
Any pain at all?
Moderate.
Moderate? Okay. How are you doing so far? Approximately a cup of bone marrow. The marrow is a reddish material. It's dark. It looks very much like very dark blood, but in fact it contains more than blood. It contains very important cells called stem cells, which are responsible for generating blood, and creating all sorts of important tissues. Our species, along with all the other mammals, have the ability to produce blood in this fashion by using stem cells.
Okay, so we've learned what stem cells are and where we harvest them from, But in this next section, we'll learn about how stem cells help us and their practical applications. The first application for stem cell research that we'll be looking at is regrowing of tissue.
A doctor has found a way to grow a new windpipe for patients with cancer. It's one more step in the medical promise of stem cells, those basic cells that change to form parts of the body. Dr. Richard Besser is here with the latest news.
It's considered the holy grail in its field, a transplant of the trachea. And last month, Dr. Paolo Macchiarini did it twice, replacing the tracheas of 2 patients with cancer using stem cells. One was speaking just hours after surgery. How did he do it? First, he and his team removed the trachea from a donor and stripped it of all of the donor's tissue, which the patient's body would have rejected. Next, they drew stem cells from the patient's own bone marrow and used them to coat the surface of the new trachea before surgically implanting it in the patient, with the hopes that those stem cells would generate new tissue and a fully functioning trachea. Stem cells have been used to transplant bladders, and researchers are working on ears, heart valves, and other organs.
This is the beginning of full-scale tissue engineering, where the goal is ultimately to begin making pieces of organs or entire organs.
The second use for stem cells that we're going to be looking at is for treating of disease and research.
People frequently think about how stem cells can be used directly to treat disease. For example, for many decades, bone marrow and the stem cells they contain, blood stem cells, have been used in the treatment of certain cancers and rare blood diseases. Scientists and clinicians today are even more excited about the indirect use of stem cells as research tools. We can learn more about how stem cells make different cell types. We can use cells derived from stem cells to make better and more effective drugs. So stem cells are, in essence, a source of different cell types that you can use to generate new drugs and learn more about how disease happens.
Stem cell therapy for hips, your knees, shoulder injuries.
This guy was blind, now he can see.
This will be an provide extraordinary insight.
Although all of these seemingly impossible treatments are made possible through embryonic stem cell research, many people are strongly against it. They mainly feel this way because of religious affiliations or personal beliefs that life begins at the exact moment that an egg and a sperm are joined. Those who agree with stem cell research say that we need to think about those who are already born, and cite the fact that the embryos used for this research would become medical waste otherwise.
A federal judge recently ruled it's illegal for government money to be spent on embryonic stem cell research.
That no stem cell research that would ultimately end in destruction.
The research is unethical. It's unethical because embryos are living human beings, and this research knowingly leads to their injury and their death.
And we have a right, if there's answers out there, to pursue those answers with the full support of our politicians.
There are many, many scientists, the majority of scientists, I think, working in the stem cell area, who say we've got to explore the embryo option.
To destroy a potential human life.
Direct killing of a life, and when we destroy an embryo to get embryonic stem cells, that's exactly what we do.
TJ's mother says she knows that people oppose the therapy on religious grounds, but thinks they're unreasonable.
There are some people who are against it, but until they've been put in that position, I don't think they should judge anybody.
The Church believes that all human life, from conception until natural death, must be respected. When that human embryo is used in stem cell research, scientists extract the stem cells from the embryo, and that process destroys the human embryo.
I know from my own experience of becoming disabled that it's very easy to look at a situation through one set of spectacles, then when you're given another set of spectacles to wear, seeing the whole thing completely differently.
Despite all of the controversy surrounding this subject, with the lift of the ban on U.S. federal funding for embryonic stem cell research, it seems that they have the green light to push forward with whatever research seems appropriate at the time. The future seems very bright for stem cell research, given what has been done to lab animals and test subjects. No one knows exactly what kind of advances stem cells will yield, but almost all scientists believe it will have incredible impacts in the field of medicine and quality of human life.
Today, with the executive order I am about to sign, we will bring the change that so many scientists and researchers, doctors and innovators, patients and loved ones have hoped for and fought for these past 8 years. We will lift the ban on federal funding for promising embryonic stem cell research. We will also vigorously support scientists who pursue this research. And we will aim for America to lead the world in the discoveries it one day may yield.
Would you mind speculating for me? Where do you see the field in 10 years?
You know, I've been a scientist for 30 or 35 years, and the one thing that I think I've learned is you can't predict the future. Anybody who says they can predict the future, you know, I mean, we're almost as bad as economists at times. You know, I think what you can say is that if the public continues to adequately fund research with stem cells, we will see breakthroughs that are absolutely unexpected and that will change the way we deliver medicine.
As you have seen, stem cells could create incredible cures to extremely debilitating diseases. However, because of the controversy surrounding embryonic stem cell research, its growth had been stunted in the United States for many years. With the recent lift of the ban on federal funding for embryonic stem cell research, it seems as though the sky's the limit for this new technology. Who knows? Maybe in 50 years, there will be a cure for paralysis.